Hi everybody, I'm Amina and welcome back to the Tassel Fairy channel. Thank you so much for coming back and hanging out with me again. Today we're going to do something a little different. I want to talk to you guys about confidence. I've been getting a lot of questions on my Instagram, on Tumblr, and even here on some of my new videos about how I'm able to have so much confidence. I don't look like what most people look like. I think I'm like kind of different. And I think that because I'm different, it kind of surprises people that I just do what I want and kind of let my, I hate freak flag fly, but I just kind of embrace myself. And so I really want to talk about how I came to the point of being more comfortable with who I am and how I'm able to do that. It did not happen overnight, let me tell you. So, in order to understand that, you kind of have to understand a little bit about my story. It all started when I was about 12 years old, and my mother and father got divorced, along with some other really traumatic things that happened in my family. I really didn't have a lot of skills or tools to figure out how to cope with those situations. And in addition to that, I had kind of a tough time at school. I was bullied. I was overweight. And so, I had a hard time fitting in. I was also kind of weird, like I am now. But the things that I used to cope with that were, pretty unhealthy. That's when I started using an eating disorder to cope with some of the things that were going on in my life at the time. And so, yeah, that was about when I was around 12 years old. And I mean, let's talk about being 12 or 13 or 16 or any teen. It's difficult out there, especially if you're not like everyone else. And I wasn't. I was a weirdo. I was kind of nerdy. I was into weird music. I kind of had an idea about who I wanted to be really early on. And that person didn't really fit in to what everyone else wanted me to be or what everyone else was trying to do. And when you're young, you may not know that, like, the best thing that you could possibly do for yourself is to embrace that because that's what makes you amazing. That's what makes you awesome. And instead, I tried to run away from that because I thought that's what made me, not awesome, which was totally wrong. In addition to my battle with bulimia, which was an eating disorder, I also dealt with obsessive-compulsive personality disorder, which if you're not familiar with that or with bulimia, you can definitely Google those. But as a young adult or as a teenager, it's something that can be really difficult to deal with, especially if you're dealing with them alone. And so my family didn't really understand me. And to be honest, I didn't have the words to say, hey, mom, I need help, or hey, dad, I need help. I'm going through something and I can't really figure out how to get out of it. So, and I really, in my mind, didn't fully understand what was going on. So I just kind of, kept going and doing what I thought I knew how to do. And that led to some very difficult times in my life. Basically, from that point on, I mean, things weren't always bad, but things were pretty difficult for me. So I was different, and I knew I was different, but I was also secretly suffering with an eating disorder and eventually depression and anxiety and lots of other things that went untreated. So it kind of made it impossible as I got older for me to really form like genuine connections with people, for me to show up for people, for me to like do well in school on a consistent basis, for me to keep a job. It really just made my life difficult because I was dealing with something that was really huge. And I didn't actually get help or treatment until I was in my late 20s. Things kind of started to change for me when I met my husband. We met when I was about 22 years old, and things were, I really wasn't doing that great. But for some reason, falling in love and finding someone who really wanted to know me for who I really was, it allowed me to take a break from, hating myself. My husband and my brother were the ones who eventually helped me find a path to getting better and checked me into treatment. It all didn't really happen until I hit my absolute rock bottom, like in my mid-20s. And I really just hated myself so much, and I was just kind of stuck, and I didn't know how to fix it. And I was terribly unhealthy and miserable, and I couldn't keep a job, and I just couldn't keep it together. And until one day I tried to take my own life. Fortunately, that was unsuccessful, and I'm still here. That is what started all of this for me, I think. I think the day that I did not die is the day that I started to live. Shortly after that, I was checked into an eating disorder treatment facility. And if you're not really familiar with that, what that is a place where you can kind of step outside of your everyday life of, bills or being an adult or, whatever, and just focus on figuring out who you are and how to be healthy. So it was like round the clock therapy, and that really saved my life. It wasn't easy, and, I don't recommend going that long dealing with mental illness or dealing with anything like that without getting treatment. But I was very lucky that I survived, and it was the thing that really saved my life. So that's kind of where Amina, the tassel fairy, as you know me, began. So I didn't really have any examples of people in my life or that I even knew of who went through something like an eating disorder or mental illness or major depression of any kind, who came out on the other side, who survived it, and not only survived it, lived a life that they wanted to live. I decided that I want to be that person for anybody out there who is like me, who felt like they were absolutely alone and didn't have someone out there to show them that it is possible to survive these things. It took me years and years to figure out who I am and why that person is worthy of celebrating. The good news is that I'm here to tell you, you don't have to go through what I went through. You don't have to hit rock bottom or try to take your own life or hate yourself before you decide that you want to be who you really are. And it's not easy sometimes. There are a lot of people out there who maybe are going through something or maybe don't like themselves, so they really focus on making other people miserable, especially on the internet. Listen, I'm not perfect at all, and I still struggle all the time with trying to find confidence. I mean, it's difficult because I know I don't fit the standard of what I'm supposed to be. And there's people out there who remind me that on a daily basis. When I see those people, I see through whatever it is that they're trying to project, because I was a person who was miserable and hurt and insecure once too. And so I know what it looks like. I know what it feels like to be unhappy with yourself. And when you're unhappy with yourself, you don't want to help other people feel good about who they are. What I want to tell you is that if you're someone who struggles with self-confidence, self-love, any of those things, that you're not alone. I struggled with them for such a long time. And I'm not perfect, and it's not a cakewalk, but life is so much better now. And if I can overcome those things, and if I can figure out and find a path to accept and love myself, then I know you can. And if you're someone who might be dealing with mental illness or an eating disorder, I would definitely say that you don't have to suffer in silence. And the best thing that you can possibly do is reach out to someone. Because even though it's probably one of the hardest things that I'd ever done, like asking for help, because it's not really something I do easily anyway, but it was the thing that saved my life and that made my life what it is right now. I spent so much of my life chasing perfection and trying to pretend to be perfect that I was covering up all of the wonderful things that make me unique and that make me who I am. And I think that is one of the most important keys to being confident, is knowing yourself and being okay with who you are. So if you're trying to figure out how to be more confident, I guess the best thing I could tell you is just embrace yourself. Do something for yourself today that expresses who you really are. If you want to wear something that you like and you're worried about what people will think, wear it. Who cares? How awesome would it be if everybody decided to just be themselves? Thank you so much for watching and listening to my story. I really hope that if you're someone who struggled with confidence or wanted to know how I became so confident, this was a little bit helpful for you. Continue to just focus on being who you are and loving yourself, and every day is a new day. So be sure to subscribe and come back next time. Have a magical day.